Hey y'all, how y'all doing? Good morning. Well, good afternoon. I gotta catch up with my time. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Let me know if y'all can hear me. Send some likes, show some heart. I wanted to come on real quick and I want to share a quick testimony. And to encourage y'all real quick in the middle of this pandemic. I kind of been off live, but I had to stop to tell y'all this morning that God is good. Y'all, when this pandemic kicked off, I wanted to give up. I really wanted to give up. I was so exhausted, and I had a team that I had just hired because I knew that the vision that God had for me was bigger than me. And I said, God, you trust me with your people. We're doing your work. You know, good morning, Ma. Good afternoon, Ma. And you know, sometimes we ask God for something, but we don't realize the magnitude of what we're asking God for. Sometimes it's easier for us to pray for other people and expect God and want God to do for other people, but sometimes we put ourselves on the back burner. Sometimes, you know, we see the miracle that God worked in someone else's life, and then you ask yourself, while you're sitting there serving and sowing and doing everything you got, trying to live right, trying to do right by God's people, and you ask yourself, you say, God, but what about me? Sometimes you feel like throwing in the towel. Sometimes you feel like God, sometimes you wonder if God can hear you. And 3 months ago, I asked God. I walked into this building, and right before, probably about 4 months ago, right before the pandemic kicked off, and I said, God, there's some stuff that I really want to do for the community. God, there's some stuff that I really want to do for God's people. God, there's some stuff, you know, I'm tired of the generational cycles of poverty, because I got to admit, it even ran into my bloodline until God let me come here. And I said, God, there's some things that I really want to do. Even though you're allowing me to do what we're doing now, God, there's some things that I really, really want to do. And I doubted God. I doubted God because I saw it happening for everybody else. And I said, but I'm going to keep on serving, keep on sowing, keep on giving. And I was exhausted, because sometimes you grow weary in good doing. Sometimes you just don't want to do. Sometimes you don't have the strength to pray, even while you're praying for somebody else. Sometimes you don't feel like serving, even when you know he called you to serve. Sometimes you don't feel like doing. Sometimes you just don't feel like it. Sometimes you just feel like giving up. And for those that know me, I want what's best for people, even sometimes when it's at the worst for me, even sometimes when it's at the expense for me, even sometimes when I don't have it. There's been some days to where I worked 18, 20 hours a day, and I didn't complain, because I said, God, I know you got better for me. And when this pandemic popped off, I said, God, now you done gave me a team full of people. You done gave me this first location out here in Rankin, and everybody was shutting down. Everybody was getting laid off. Everybody business was closing. You know, the city was shutting down. Everything was shutting down around me. And God said, baby, I'm going to keep you. And then my staff met with me 4 months ago, and they said, you know, are we going to have to file unemployment? Are you going to have to lay us off? And I trusted God. I said, nah. I said, if I have it my way, I said, I won't draw a salary. I said, I won't pull a salary from this company, because everything I got, I said, we're going to ride this wave, because God, I know this is God's business. This is God's ministry. This is for God's people. And I said, God, and I told my husband, he thought I was crazy. I said, I'm not going to pull a salary from this business, and everything I got, I'm going to give it back to God. Because I said, what I'm asking God to do, money can't even buy. I'm asking God to heal my mother for stage 4 cancer. And I know she's already healed, but I got to trust the process in that. So for 4 months, I didn't draw a salary, and I still paid my tithes and offering. I still sold back into my leaders. I still sold back into the community. I did things because I don't have to take pictures and tag people. No offense, but the stuff that I do for people is from the heart, because you sow in private and you reap in public. And I said, God, but what about me? And every day my team came in there and they said, hey, and another business shut down. And they said, hey, my family done got laid off. And I said, God, but I'm not going to draw a salary. I'm going to sow in my time, my talent, and my treasure, y'all. And I'm crying today because in the midst of this pandemic, I saw a building that I wanted. And the building was $3,000 a month. Now, imagine those that know my story. 4 years ago, I couldn't even afford to pay my rent. 4 years ago, they was about to foreclose on the house. 4 years ago, all the credit cards was maxed. I was hiding the car from the repo man. 4 years ago, I had maybe a pack of meat or two in my refrigerator, but I had a servant's heart. And I said, God, I got to go through this process, but I understand that I didn't do nothing to go through this process. And I didn't know it was to build my faith. I didn't know it was to draw me to a closer relationship with him. Because to me, I said, God, you must can't hear me because I'm down here suffering. But 3 months ago, I walked into this building that I knew, at that time, I said, God, I don't know how you going to do this, but this is my building. God, because I want to brand the block. I want to build the block. There's some stuff I want to go and do for your people because you break generational cycles of poverty by teaching people. And I walked in that building and I chuckled. I said, God, you going to give me this building because of what I'm going to do with it. And I cried. And my husband said, that building $3,000. You ain't drawing no salary from your business. You out here just sowing seeds everywhere. And I said, but I understand the power of a seed because even a farmer knows that the seed doesn't bloom that day, but it has a predestined time to bloom. And I'm crying today. I couldn't even go get the furniture out of bed about a minute ago. And my office director, Miss Dinette, Mama D, is with me holding it down. And I cried in the middle of the store. I cried because when I walked in this building 3 months ago with my Bishop Seals, the bishop that put up with me, the bishop that was there for me, praying for me, loving me, praying me back to better, that kept me from quitting. I walked in this building three months ago and I said, God, this building $3,000. But I want this building for your people. And I've been crying all week, but I've been crying today because it's one thing to pray for something, but it's another thing to have it. And when I walked in there today and I realized that God had answered my prayers, because when God, he will grant you the desires of your heart and give you what you prayed for. He will give you what you served for. He will give you what you suffered for. Because the distance between the promise and the problem is called the process. And you never know how long that process is going to last. But if you don't quit in the process, in the end, you win. And I wanted to get on here today and tell somebody, if there's something that you trust in God for, if there's something that you believe in God for, I don't care. Don't trust your checking account. Trust the man upstairs. Trust the man that already prepaid for. Because when I went in there today and all week I've been in there taking pictures like, oh, this is my building, oh, this is my building, oh, this is my building. When people started moving everything in, I said, God, I remember when I walked in this building and I said, God, I can't afford it. And God said, no, I paid for it. So I sold higher seeds. I started sowing. And everybody's like, so you gonna sow and you not gonna draw a salary? And I said, God, I'm going to give it all back because what I need, money can't buy, y'all. All I really need is prayer because the prayers of the righteous avail much. But I said, I understand the power of a seed, and I trusted God for these last 4 months. I trusted God. I gave God everything I got. I've been giving him what I got. But with this, because sometimes you got to get on your knees and pray. Sometimes you got to get off Facebook. Sometimes you got to get off your cell phone. Sometimes you got to get the haters out your ear. Sometimes you got to get everybody out your ear and just spend some time with God. Sometimes you really got to have some social distancing. And these last 4 months, God said, babe, it's time to social distance yourself. And I just spent the last 4 months with God. I said, God, I'm going to give you everything. And when I walked in the building this morning and everybody was in there setting up, I said, God, 3 months ago, my checking account said I couldn't afford it because I had a team. I said, God, I couldn't even afford to pay me because I said, God, I'm going to give it back. I got to cover the salaries. I got to cover the payroll. I got to cover this. I got to cover that. I got to cover this. I said, God, I won't take nothing because I knew the rent and everything was going to be paid at the house. I knew we had groceries. I said, God, I'm going to give back to your people. This is for your people. Your people need this. And when I walked in there this morning, not only did God pay for the building, and he has it to where the rent is already prepaid and sitting in the savings account, and he restored my salary, but then he allowed us to be able to build and expand the team to be able to do what it is that we were praying to do for the community. So if there's something that you really want, I don't care what it is. If you believe in God for that house, tell them keys are yours. Go walk through the house. I went and walked through the house the other day with Matassa, and I said, this is my home. But I walked through this building a couple of months ago, and I said, God, it's mine. I don't know how you're going to do it, but I'm going to serve and sow, because sometimes that's all you got to do, serve, sow, and pray. Serve, sow, and pray, and have a good heart, because there's some people out here with a bad heart. And bad hearts don't get you nowhere. But when you got a good heart and you do good things and you do the right thing, you do the right things for people, the right things happen for you. You ain't gotta have it all. Sometimes you discount what God, you don't get the miracle because you give up on the miracle before God even had a chance to work it out for you. Sometimes you don't get what God has for you because you're surrounded by those people that say, man, you can't have it. Man, you didn't finish school. Man, you ain't got the money. Man, you ain't smart enough for that. Man, that ain't gonna work. Sometimes you gotta shut the hell up. Excuse my French. Sometimes you gotta shut the hell up and make it do what it do. Sometimes you gotta put in 18, 20 hours and you can't go out there and turn up. Sometimes you gotta put that last little bit in the offering plate. Ain't nobody gotta be in your business. Sometimes when God tell you to do something, you just gotta stop and do it. It ain't gotta make sense. Your vision ain't gonna make sense to nobody else because he gave the vision to you. It's like sharing your glasses. You give somebody your glass and the prescription was for you. They can't see through them. And that's what I learned today. When I walked through this building today, and I realized not only did he give us the building, but he fully furnished the building with new stuff. Before, I used to go and get all the stuff from Goodwill and everything. And God said, I gave you a vision, because my bishop said this is the year of spiritual perspective, the 2020 vision. That's that perfect vision. And I said, God, I need this, I need that, I need this, I need that. And I asked him, I sought after it, I prayed, I sold, I served, and he gave it all to me in the middle of a pandemic. So I want to tell somebody today, whatever it is that you asking for, get surrounded by the right people, get a covering, get some people that's really down to see you win, because everybody that's clapping for you, everybody that's clapping with you ain't clapping for you. And no matter how it look, no matter what the devil start talking, I don't care if the car start acting up, the kids start acting up, your boo start acting up, the boss start acting up. When God told you something, I don't care if he showed it to you 7 years ago. I got business from 5, 6, 7 years ago that's manifesting now, because this is the time, this is the place, this is the appointed season in which God had for it to make it happen. Just because it ain't work back then, it wasn't meant to work back then. I was so immature, y'all. I was a little ratchet. I had a nasty little attitude. God's still working on that. I keep it 100. I would have blew all of this. All of this. And I said, God, but you gave it to me now. He gave it to me now because what he needs for his kingdom. He gave it to me now because of the voice. God is doing a new thing in this season. He don't need the people that's out here to make a name for himself. He needs the people that's out here making a name for him, that's building his kingdom. And when God released the blessing on today, when God gave us this blessing on today, when I finally, it took me walking in the store and having to walk out crying and realizing that God did it, I said the worst thing I did was doubt God. The worst thing I could have done was to think that he couldn't do it for me. Because just because he didn't do it for your neighbor, don't mean he ain't gonna do it for you. You don't know what kind of seeds they sowing. So you got to get them people that's sowing them negative seeds and, that discord and destruction, because you can't expect to have a constructive future being a destructive person. You got to get all them people from around you, get all the people that gave up on their dreams, that's talking you out of their dreams, that's talking you out of your dreams from around you, get all the haters and the naysayers, the instigators, the spectators, the speculators, the perpetrators, the vision terminators, get all them from around you and go socially distance yourself. And tell God, you said it, I expect it, what do I have to do? And give it all to God. And when you look up, even in the middle of a pandemic, when you look up, you'll realize he answered all your prayers. 3 months later, 4 months later, and I sat there and I said, God, I asked you for it. And as I sat there, my savings account was being depleted, because sometimes real bosses got to make a sacrifice. Sometimes real bosses pay their people before they pay themselves. Sometimes real bosses work 18 hours when other people work 8. Sometimes real bosses cry before the staff check in. Sometimes real bosses cry before the clients even walk in. Real bosses cry. Real servants cry. Suffering hurts. It like sacrifices hurt. But the promise at the end is sweet, y'all. And I had to stop. To tell everybody, thank you for believing in me. Thank you for loving me. Thank you for pouring into me. Thank you for teaching me what I didn't even know I needed to be taught. Thank you for chastening me, because you chasten those that you love. Thank you to my bishop for rebuking the hell out of me, y'all, because he rebuked the hell out of me a bunch, because I had some real issues a couple of years ago. I had some issues. But when my bishop met me when all my checking accounts was overdrawn, and I can say, not to brag, but to go from overdrawn to 6 figures in the middle of a pandemic, that's only what God can do. and then some stuff that you didn't even know that you prayed for. But while you're so busy blessing other people, you're so busy loving other people, you're so busy being humble, because you ain't got to pop off when people act ignorant. You ain't got to act stupid when people come for you. You ain't got to do people wrong just because they do you wrong. You ain't got to quit just because everybody else quit on you. You don't give up on yourself just because somebody gave up on you. Your life ain't over just because somebody walked out on you. If it didn't work out, it didn't work out. Your partner did you wrong, so what? If God gave you a vision, keep it pushing. If your checking account don't line up, sometimes you got to sacrifice to make it line up. But I wanted to tell somebody today, get connected to the right people and the right things that happen for you. If the wrong things keep happening, you may be connected to the wrong people, boo. And I'm going to end it on this. Salt and sugar look just the same, but you won't know the flavor of your circle until you get a taste of them. And I had to learn the hard way that the voices that I needed to hear was the voice of the Lord. Because once I got everything else from around me, and I went back into the same place that I thought God couldn't do it for me, because everybody said, don't get the building. You're in the middle of a pandemic. Why you going to go take on more debt in the middle of a pandemic? Don't go get no overhead in the middle of a pandemic. Well, I said, God, it was prophesied I'm going to be a multimillionaire. I need a team to support the dream, because teamwork made the dream work. So I said, God, this is what I need. I need about $15,000 to $20,000 a month. And then I went from a month, and I looked last week. I said, God, we made 15 grand just last week. But I went from having 3 overdrawn checking accounts. Y'all just got to trust God. And I'm going to shut up before I have the wrong people in my earbox. But y'all trust God. Pray. Serve. And when he elevates you, when he gives you a little bit of increase, all he asks is for 10%. Give that 10%. And watch him multiply. Give him that 10%. That 10% may release the home that you've been waiting on. That 10% may release that car that you've been waiting on. That 10% may release that loved one that's incarcerated that you're waiting to come home. That 10% may release that thing that you didn't expect him to do. When I asked God, I said, God, I want this building, but it costs this much. He said, sow even more. Pull back. Give. He said, put up with those that slandering you. I said, God, they don't like me and they on my status. He said, put up with it. Don't pop off with it. Show them how to love. Love the hell right up out of some of them hellish people. Don't do them like they do you. And give. In the middle of the pandemic, God said give. He said, give and I give it back. Give and I multiply tenfold. Give and I give it back. And I said, God, all right, I trust you. And what I did, I gave God everything I got, y'all. And I'm telling you this. Give God everything, and you'll see his hand in everything. And when he removed the wrong people out your life, let them go. Because those were the ones that was holding up the flow of your miracle. Thank you for watching this live. Y'all keep us lifted in prayer as we start chapter 2 of this journey to what my bishop would call better days. I love y'all.